WEFM is SPG.
Such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay. The world has become such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay. Become such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
3, 2, 1. FM is SPG.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because the boys and girls are at home on vacation right now, welcome to Cop Chat for today. It's the third day of August 2023. The time is now 6 minutes after the 8 o'clock hour. This morning, we're going to be talking about the rights of prisoners. And our guest for today's Cop Chat, Mr. Julian Clark. He's the Assistant Superintendent of Prisons. And beside him is Mr. Dwight G. Lewis, Sergeant of Police. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome.
Good morning, Christal. Thanks for having us.
All right, always a pleasure. Now, I'm gonna start with what you do for a living. So we can start with Sergeant Lewis. What do you do? What are your roles as a sergeant of police?
Good morning, everyone again. Good morning, everyone again.
Mm-hmm.
My role as a sergeant of police, well, I am presently attached to the Legal Research and Policies Unit. That is the legal unit within the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. And what we do, we normally review case files. We look at policies. We draft policies for the organization, and we also conduct training regarding those policies that we draft. And our role basically is to kind of assist the DPP with prosecution.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, great. And yourself, Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, your role?
Well, again, good morning, Christal. My role, unfortunately, is a very broad one. I basically assist the superintendent with the superintendent of the prisons on a daily basis. It's include ensuring that the prisons is safe and secure on a moment-by-moment basis.
Mm-hmm.
Ensure that all officers have the necessary tools that they need to perform their task, as well as ensuring that the inmates are comfortable, quote unquote, and taken care of, as well as to visit the cell blocks and ensure that the prison is kept clean,
Mm-hmm.
and prisoners are well behaved, not violating any prison regulations, and are adhering to prison rules in essence. So it's an interesting position, and one that I really enjoy doing.
Okay. All right. So now that we've got that covered, we're going to be talking about the various categories of prisoners and the rights of each. Maybe we can separate them into groups if it's a bit too broad. Now, before we get into all of that, there are some misconceptions. Let's touch on that first.
Yes, I am happy for the opportunity to clear this up. Now, there's a misconception among the populace that prisoners or persons are sent to prison to be punished. Unfortunately, that is not so. Persons are sent to prison as a punishment, and not to be punished. A matter of fact, there are 5 main underlying justification for criminal punishment. One is retribution, that is like punishment for criminal act. Incapacitation, making a person capable of committing a crime. Deterrence, discouraging an action by instilling doubt or fear of the consequences. Reparation, to make amends financially for wrong done to someone. And of course, rehabilitation, to restore someone to normal behavior after imprisonment. So they are not sent to prison to be punished. But the whole aim is to reclaim a prisoner.
Mhm.
So I need to say that early, because there are folks who would say, oh, we have the prisoners living high and mighty and nice, and they should not be like that. Why you don't deal with them a certain way that is contrary to their well-being. So I wanted to at least let the nation know that our role is to take care of our people who are in prisons and not necessarily to abuse them.
Okay. And that's rather interesting. One quick question on that one.
Sure.
Now, you mentioned some of the things, rehabilitation. How much of that is within your control?
It really, if I had to put a percentage to it, because it's really a teamwork, right? Um, our our leaders provide the means, and we are to execute. So the rehab, I would say it's a 50-50 in terms of executing the rehabilitation. But sad to say, we are not doing the very best job at it. There's still a lot of work to be done because what we have been doing over the years is we have been like providing a skill, some vocational skill,
Right.
rather than addressing the criminogenic need of the prisoner. That is to say, the trigger that get them into prisons in the first place. Like, let's say someone is in prison as a result of drug abuse, gang-related activities. Once they are in prison, we somewhat fail to address that trigger, the reason why they're there. So we would teach them a skill, but we will not teach them so much per se how to get out of the drug abuse. We do it on a very small scale, but not on a scale that could be really impactful. So, yes, there are need for like more psychologists, more psychiatrists within the prison system to address these critical areas that need urgent attention. Because what we are doing under the guise of rehabilitation, we are teaching them skills, sending them back out into the very condition that would have brought them in the first place. Somebody might come to prison because of a broken home. There's no parental guidance there. And rather than we trying to fix that, we would put them to work. Yes, they would be engaged, but how do we address the broken home situation that they have to go back to when they leave? And that's part of the challenge that we're dealing with.
Okay. I don't want to segue too much into this because this seems like an entire morning.
Yes.
So let's move on a bit because I have a ton of questions in my mind. If I only start asking, that's the end of the program. Let's go now to the rights of prisoners. So unfortunately, there are some circumstances outside in society. They make the poor choices, they influence negatively, and they end up behind bars.
Yes.
Categories. Let's start there. Are there different categories of prisoners?
Yes. So
Um,
okay. Go ahead.
Okay, Lewis,
I wanna
Sergeant
start with
Lewis.
the detention aspect of it first. Because once someone has committed themselves to doing something illegal, then they would be detained, lawful detention. With that detention, persons would be notified of their rights of having a legal representative, the rights of having a phone call, rights to say what they have to say about certain things that happen with the incident. And those are the basic rights for them. Regarding them being charged for an offense, they are allotted the right of 24 hours, right? Within that time, they should be charged for an offense.
24 hours.
24 hours, right? And after being charged, they are also allowed the right to be presented in front of a magistrate no later than 48 hours after being charged. Well, the 48 hours, if it is like on a Monday, you were charged on a Saturday, and the Monday is a holiday, you may have some leeway regarding the 48 hours, right? But then again, there are measures that police can take, like granting them police bail for them to be out.
Mhm.
So the 48 hours will be negated in that regard,
Mhm.
right? But they must be brought to a magistrate before 48 hours.
Within a 48-hour span. Let me just clarify this. So you're picked up within 24 hours. There has to be a charge.
Yes,
Does that include weekends?
that's what I say. If it do happens that if a person is being charged, it doesn't matter if it's a weekend,
Mhm.
because once you have sufficient evidence to charge them, then you have to charge them.
Okay.
If after 48 hours you don't have necessary evidence to charge them, then you may grant them bail, right? Or you can release them without being charged,
Okay.
pending further investigations into the matter.
So the 48 hours is from being picked up and not from being charged,
The 48 hours included the charge.
including.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
once you've been charged, before 48 hours of being charged, then you have to be brought in front of a magistrate.
Okay. All right. Understood. So you're separating them now, detention
Yes,
and being arrested.
right.
So let's start with the arrested. I want to go into a little bit more. You mentioned a telephone call and some other things. So let's
Legal representative.
legal representation. So let's go into it a little bit more. So you have to list them again.
Yeah. So legal representative or
Mhm.
legal representation,
You have a
must-
right to.
that's their right.
Mhm.
And they must be informed of those rights,
Mhm.
right? So pick up a suspect and they're charged with an offense. They're charged with an offense, and they are told that these are their rights. So they have a right of legal representation. We can't take that away from them. They have the right to make a phone call. They have a right of defending themselves, and some other rights that would be presented to them,
Okay.
like a meal, for them to be clean, and that sort of thing.
In terms of legal representation, if they're in a position where they cannot afford, what happens then?
Well, they can defend themselves if they choose to.
Okay.
Defend themselves. The court may provide services where you can get legal assistance pro bono. But if they choose to defend themselves, they can defend themselves. That is their right.
Okay.
That is their right.
Is that a common thing for persons arrested to choose to defend themselves?
Some of the cases may tell you that. A lot of the cases, summary offenses in particular, most accused tend to defend themselves. Most of them choose to defend themselves. In indictable matters, most would opt to go for a legal representative because of the severity of the charge.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain indictable and summary offenses now. Big words.
So summary offenses are offenses that they are for the magistrate court, and they carry a certain amount of sentencing, right? So up to 1 year. Anything above that, and sorry, we have to look at the severity of the offenses also. So like assault, assault causing actual bodily harm, those minor offenses, petty thefts, those tend to go to the summary court, which is the magistrate court, and then you have the indictable offenses. Mind you, all cases go to the magistrate court. So if it's an indictable offense, it will start at the magistrate court, and then it will be transferred to the high court. So that's the kind of difference between summary and indictable.
Okay, so
The indictable offenses will normally carry a higher sentence.
okay, so those are like murder,
Yes, more
big theft. You said,
aggravated burglary, robbery, some weapon offenses, some offenses in terms of quantity of drugs and the type of drugs will go to the high court.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about the phone call. Is it one phone call or is it 60 seconds? Do you get 5 minutes on the phone, long distance? How does that work?
For your phone call, you can use that phone call to contact your legal representative.
I can't call mommy.
I mean, it depends. It depends. I would say it depends on the arresting officer. I mean, some persons may be lenient enough to allow you more than one phone call. So you can call your legal representative, you can call your loved ones, but it depends on the arresting officer and the principal that they use.
Okay. What are you allowed to have on your person? Do they take away everything from you? Or do you? Sorry, not they. You. Do you take away everything?
Personal artifacts are removed from persons who are arrested. Cell phones, pens. You wouldn't want to have an arrested person with a pen on them. Personal equipment such as cell phone, as I said before, money are taken from them. They are allowed to wear the clothing that they have, but other items are removed from them. But they would sign to them and they would receive them after everything has been done. So if they are guilty, if they are found guilty, those things will be returned to them after the sentence has been finished. If they were arrested and they were later discharged, they would receive their items. But they are allowed to receive the item because they sign for it. The arresting officer will also sign for it, and they will have to be returned to them.
Okay. So are persons like family members? I know sometimes when you pass the Calico police station, you just take a peek in. You might see one or two people sitting on a bench. They call it, what do they call it? A condom bench? Is that what it's called? No, you're not gonna answer that. Don't answer that. People on the streets say that. But you see one or two persons sitting on the bench. Is there a special place for persons who are arrested to go? How does that work? The bench, a room, or is it dependent on the police station?
I would say dependent. It's dependent on the police station. Because persons who are arrested, they are on remand as well. Most of them would be on remand. So they are not in, I would say, a prison cell. I mean, like the other, like convicted persons. They'll be placed on remand. And if the cell has a bench or room for them to be in, then they will be. It's based on the build of the
police station. Okay, so Calico is just unique then. Don't want to answer affirmatively there. Okay. Are family members allowed to take pieces of clothing, food to persons who are arrested?
Persons who are remanded? Yes.
Yes.
Because you don't want to have a person who's on remand for a month to be wearing the same clothing that you were arrested in. I mean, it's not hygienic. So they are allowed change of clothing, and well, as I said, they are allowed meals. So
showers and hygiene, how does that work? And is it different for male and female?
I can say for the males, as I said, hygiene is an important aspect of them, and they are allowed showers, and they are allowed to have clean clothing. Yeah.
Okay. Can't speak for the females. Okay. All right. I think, is there anything else you want to touch on concerning rights? Uh,
I would.
whatever is said while they are arrested, could that be held against them?
Can you repeat?
Whatever is said, whatever they say. Sometimes they sit down and they just talk. Could that be held against them? Or is that whatever they say is off record?
Most times, what they say are off record, right? What they say are off record.
Hmm.
If it pertains to the offense that is alleged to have been committed by them, then the criteria would be for the officer to caution them and record what they say and let them sign it, right? That can be used against them. But if it's just normal banter, it's unlikely to be used against them, right? So you're probably chatting with another person who's been arrested, and things that are not pertaining to the offense. So you're just saying, you saw this thing last night, this and that, normal banter. I mean, you won't use that. But if it's something pertaining to the offense, so if I was arrested for theft and I was saying that something pertaining to the offense, then yes, but it has to be done in the correct way. So you caution them and you record a statement from them.
Okay. Now, my final question on arrest. And then we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll deal with detention, which Assistant Superintendent of Prisons will get into. Physically, what are the limitations? I know sometimes you'd hear of allegations of abuse. So if I am arrested, what can an officer do, or how could or should he or she handle that individual?
Allegations of abuse have been presented, and I mean, persons who were arrested would have said that officers had abused them physically, right? It is not the practice of the Royal Civil and Grange Police Force to inflict any sort of injuries towards persons who are being arrested, right? However, in the event of occurring an arrest, if persons do resist for being arrested, then the officer will have to employ a certain level of force to effect the arrest. While that use of force is being affected and a person sustain some sort of injuries, then the officer will have to write it in a statement that while conducting the arrest, person was resisting, hence this level of force had to be employed, and as a result of using that level of force, this person was injured. Once that is done, the officer will most likely be cleared of any wrongdoing based on the nature of the injury. So if somebody was arrested and it is claimed that they received an injury to the wrist or to the shoulder while being arrested and they were resisting, then those type of injuries are logical, right? However, if it is found that they were injured in the head, in my opinion, it is unlikely that those injuries was caused. But as I said, it depends on what happened. The officer should write what happened. The person who is arrested should be taken to seek medical attention, and it should all be noted.
Okay. And that medical attention obviously is within a particular time frame,
Well,
or based on the urgency.
any injury should be attended to as soon as possible. As soon as possible.
Okay.
Not the person receive an injury now and they are taken to the doctor the next day.
Okay.
It should be seen to as soon as possible.
And then the odd case where somebody falls ill, then
Yes.
The same will apply.
Yes.
Okay. All right. 8:31. We take a break, and when we come back, we touch on some more rights of the prisoners, and this time we're going to deal with those who are in detention. All right. So this morning's edition of Cop Chat, we're talking about the rights of prisoners. In studio with us this morning, our Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, Mr. Julian Clark, and Sergeant of Police, Mr. Dwight Lewis. All right. Let's take a break and come right back.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Falls Avenue and in Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tires, the king of the mountain, Cooper Tires, king of the road and track, Ostone, the king of the outback, and High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy-duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnisvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road.
SVG Tire Sales August Special. Buy 3 tires at regular price and get the 4th one free. Visit our store today.
Let's get your laundry clean and fresh with the widest range of washing machines and dryers in SVG. At Singer, choose between our West Point and Speed Queen brands with an array of washing machines with payments starting as low as $92 per month. Your laundry room wouldn't be complete without a Whirlpool or Speed Queen electric or gas-operated dryer, saving your energy consumption. Also in stock is our West Point washer-dryer combo for only $136 per month. One machine that does the work of 2. No need to change machines, just toss in your laundry and forget about it. Whether your preference in machines is top-loading or front-loading, whether you want a 9 kilogram or a larger 15 kilogram washer, whether you're looking for a gas or electric dryer, we've got it all at Singer. Visit us today and get the washing machine and dryer that's perfect for you. Singer, your family company.
At the end of 2023, My Smart Toilet Seat is giving away $50,000. To be eligible to win this cash, you must be a My Smart Toilet Seat customer. So visit our website today at justwashit.vc. Take a look at all our smart toilet seats online. Purchase the one you like and get it delivered to you on the same day. Or you can visit our store on Bay Street in the Blue Corner building opposite the old Anglican school. Make your purchase there and voila, you're a customer. Remember, prices are as low as $150 EC dollars. Now you're on your way to win $50,000.
For more information, visit our website at justwashit.vc or call us at 457-1703.
I was looking for a cough syrup, looking for a drug to help this pain here in my throat. I needed something fast to help me with my cold. Then I turned around and there you go. I went into the store and I found what I needed when I shouted Super Health.
Super Health Pharmacy. We're located on Grenville Street, formerly Isles Boutique. Come in and check out our wide variety of over-the-counter prescriptions, medications, personal care products, and much more. Take advantage of our free delivery services, blood pressure, sugar, and cholesterol testing. Open Mondays to Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call or WhatsApp us at 497-8737 or 457-8737. Super Health Pharmacy. Your health is our priority.
And I found what I needed when I shouted Super Health.
A new era of excellence in medical education has arrived, with big changes happening at Trinity School of Medicine. With the leadership of 3 new deans, a multi-million-dollar campus expansion project, and a strong desire to build a lasting relationship with the Vincentian community, Trinity is known as a premier-level medical school in the Caribbean, and we intend to broaden our focus to become the best medical school opportunity for students all over the world. From the Trinity family to yours, thank you for supporting our school and allowing our students to find a home with the people of St. Vincent.
The SVG Maritime Administration is hosting its 3rd annual essay competition in commemoration of World Maritime Day to be celebrated on September 28, 2023. All Vincentian nationals and residents between the age of 9 to 25 years are invited to participate. The theme is Marpol at 50, Our Commitment Goes On. Marpol is an international convention for the prevention of pollution from ships aimed at preventing pollution of the marine environment by ships. There are 3 categories. Ages 9 to 12, topic, Imagine you're a marine animal. How would pollution affect your life, and what can we do to help protect you? 700 to 800 words. Ages 13 to 16, topic, How has Marpol helped to reduce pollution in our oceans, and what more can we do to protect our marine life? 1500 to 2000 words. And ages 17 to 25, topic, Reflect on the 50th anniversary of Marpol. What progress has been made in protecting our oceans, and what challenges remain? 2,000 to 2,500 words. The deadline for submission is September 12, 2023 at 10 p.m. All submissions must be made via email to wmdessay.svgmarad@gmail.com. Prizes include a laptop, tablets, and cash prizes. The school with the most participants will be awarded a cash prize. Further information, along with the rules of the competition, could be found in the local newspapers.
Refer a friend and get $50 cash back for you and $50 cash back for your friend on loans of $3,000 and over at Courts Ready Cash. Plus, you get flexible payment terms, hassle-free service, and fast approval. All you need is your ID, proof of address, payslip, job letter, and 2 references. Apply now. Visit shopcourts.com. The more friends you refer, the more cash back. What are you waiting for? Make every moment count with a loan from Courts Ready Cash. We are ready when you are. Conditions apply.
99.9 WEFM.
Welcome back to today's edition of Cop Chat. By the way, Triple X Show is sponsored by Flow. Remember, you too can win easy with Flow. Cash, iPads, smartphones, school supplies, staycations, and even a Caribbean cruise for 2 still up for grabs when you top up, sign up, pay up your bill, or switch up to Flow. This morning's edition of Cop Chat, we're talking about the rights of prisoners. And we broke it down into 2 categories. Our guest for this morning's conversation, Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, Mr. Julian Clark, and Sergeant of Police, Mr. Dwight G. Lewis. Now, Sergeant Lewis has already dealt with once you're arrested, your rights, well, some, because they're pretty extensive. And now we're going to talk about once you are detained, what are your rights then? So let's start with that, or continue, sorry, with that. Is it ASP? Yes. ASP Clark. Right, let's go.
Okay, so Christal, there are three categories of prisoners that of persons that are sent to prisons. First, there are those who are sent for committing crimes, and we also have civil prisoners. Those are like judgment debtors, maybe child maintenance, etc. And of course, those who are on remand awaiting trial or pre-trial. Now, ideally, two of the categories should be separated from the penal. That is to say, the civil prisoners should not mingle with penal prisoners. Similarly, those on remand should be separated as well. The ideal situation would be to operate a jail and a prison. You may ask, why is the difference? The difference is that with the jail, there are folks who are on remand awaiting trial, etc. And persons who are serving sentences with 6 months or less. And a prison is where we really have what we'd call the hardcore. Persons upward of 6 months, a season, criminals, so to speak. So that would be the ideal situation, to have them separate. We are trying to see how best we can practice that, but lack of space is hindering what we are trying to do in that regard. So generally, these prisoners, for the most part, are together in the institution. And as I said from the beginning, that they should not be punished. So they have a right to be treated with dignity and respect. And with that said, they should not be subjected to torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. Additionally, the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines afford persons certain fundamental rights and freedoms. And these rights are not taken away during incarceration, but some of them would be restricted during the period of imprisonment. For example, the freedom to assemble an association. If you're outside, you can mix and mingle with whoever you wish. Now, in prisons, as I just told you, a civil prisoner should not be allowed to mix with a penal prisoner, somebody who would have committed a crime. Outside, you have the right to privacy. But in prisons, that right is restricted because officers more than likely have to be monitoring you all the time. So some of those rights are restricted. So once you enter the system, we note that you have to be protected. You have a right, so to speak, to be protected from torture, violence, and racial harassment. You have a right to inform relatives of your arrival in prisons. I know there are instances where we make calls on behalf of inmates to their relatives, and the relative would be shocked that they're in prisons. Some of them might think that their loved one was in the hills, visiting another of the islands, but
Wow.
they are in prison. So it's important that they utilize that right to inform the loved one that they are in prison. Now, mention was made by Sergeant Lewis of an attorney. And once in prisons, they also have a right to an attorney to defend himself, as well as to access the courts, the court system. They have a right to 3 square meals. They have a right to proper health care at the public expense. They have a right to at least 1 shower per day and fresh drinking water. They have a right to at least 1 hour exercise per day in the open air. They also have a right to practice their faith. But once you are in prisons, we know there are instances where someone might come to prison and give his religion as, let's say, Adventist. And while in prison, they want to change that to something else. They would have to write to the visiting justices and explain the reasons why they would wish to change their religion and the records. And once it satisfies the visiting justices, that is something they can grant. So they have a right to practice their religion, to have religious texts, like the Bible, the Quran, to practice the grooming of their religion. The Rasta would carry the locks. And of course, they have a right to be treated equal to other religions. They have other rights. Send and receive letters and other publications, including soft cover books, and you would understand why the book cover must be soft. The hard cover is capable of making different kind of weapons. Surprise, surprise. They also have a right to receive visits from relatives and friends, pastors, their lawyer, etc. And we know that the prison itself have rules and regulations that can be violated. And from time to time, inmates do violate these regulations and they are charged internally. And an inmate has a right to, in his own defense, to call other witnesses to testify on his behalf. So there are a whole set of rights that are afforded these inmates.
I'm going to ask you to put on your headphones at this time because there's a call coming through. Hello, good morning, welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I just happened to be listening with this I said shopping, this cop chat as you call it. And just I am happy to hear the officer there giving the rights of, explaining the rights of inmates and so on. For one thing that caught my attention is this maintenance, child maintenance and all of that. I know that has been a concern long time, especially if you just lock up a man for not maintaining his child. I am not on the side of but what I want to say is that does it make sense to imprison somebody for child maintenance? I put that question on the table. And because I thought something was worked out, I know it was a concern many years ago, locking up the breadwinner of any family. So I would like to hear if anything has been done. I know there were a lot of talk about doing something about that, instead of just picking up the guy or whoever and putting them in prison. Now, in terms of the rights of prisoners as well, and so as I'm talking, as I'm talking, I was about to ask the question, the stop cut off the dreadlocks, them and so on from these guys, eh? Because I remember there was a bad man inside that prison at one time, and he used to talk publicly, brag and boast. When you just send them along by me, let me deal with them. And what about the beating in prisons of certain prisoners, whether they deserve it or not? I was trying to remember a particular incident, because they all have their rights too. Yes, they would have done something against the norm in society, but the cricket, what I'm trying to emphasize here, the cricket method should not be just put them, throw them in jail, as the local people say. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
You want
to respond to it, or? All right, so let's continue then. If not,
you want to take the child maintenance?
It's an offense.
It's an offense, so
yeah.
Okay.
For the child maintenance aspect, it's an offense for persons not to be maintaining their child, and as a result of that, for you to be breaking that, you are punished, and your punishment will be imprisonment. So I mean, in fairness, because I understand the issue with the breadwinner part of it, but in fairness, it is your responsibility, and failure to uphold your responsibility, it's an offense, and as a result of that, it's a charge that warrants imprisonment. So that's the part of the child maintenance.
All right, thank you. So shall we continue with the rights of prisoners on detention or detained? Let's continue.
You have any follow-up that you wish to?
Oh, I thought you were listing the rights of prisoners here. Let me ask you, in terms of you said 3 square meals. If somebody has a restrictive diet, how does that work? They don't eat meat, non-dairy. How does it work?
Well, in a case where someone doesn't eat a particular food type, 2 things might happen. One, they can go to the doctor, be it we do have a doctor who visits the prisons, an external one, and the doctor having identified issues with meals would make certain recommendation to the superintendent of prisons about a restructured diet for such prisoner, and we would adhere to that. Unfortunately, though, some of the things that doctors would recommend, the prisons do have a little difficulty in providing some of them. So in cases like that, we would rely on relatives to assist with some of these food products to ensure that their loved one get the meal that the doctor recommend. What we find recently is that a number of inmates would say they're not eating a particular food type in an effort to just get another type of food. And that's not the way it should be done. We provide 3 different types of meal: a regular meal, a special meal, and a low salt meal. So each prisoner, based on what they are eating, would be placed in one of these categories. So that's how that is dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If I want to write a letter to somebody outside, do you read it? Do you proofread it before it goes out? Or
yes,
do they have privacy? That kind of privacy?
letters coming in and going out would always be censored for security purposes. Now, if a letter is received from a lawyer to an inmate, our procedure would be to call the inmate and to open the letter in the inmate's presence. And similarly, if the inmate is writing his lawyer, the procedure is the same. So there is a certain level of privacy, but not to the extent that we don't know. We don't have no information as to what is written, because a lot of times we have to decline letters for what we consider to be breaches of potential breaches of prison security.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes family members might want to visit. Are there restrictions on how often or what time of the day?
Okay, so the different categories of prisoners have different time that they can visit. Like a remand prisoner is entitled to 2 visits per week, while a penal prisoner really is entitled to 1 visit per month, but in the discretion of the superintendent and in the interest to build family relations, he would have allowed penal prisoner at least 1 visit per week instead of 1
Per month.
per month. Now, letters, we can't stop a prisoner from writing. We can't restrict a letter. But there are prisoners who do exchange a visit for a letter. They might prefer to write a letter to a loved one than have the loved one come and visit for varying reasons. You know, you're behind bars and your loved one is there. There's tendencies to get emotional. And sometimes to avoid that, they prefer write a letter. So, of course, relatives can write, and inmates can write.
Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I might say prisoner pass while I'm in town on the back of a truck. And some of them are dressed in orange, some of them are dressed in white. So I have 2 questions. We have about 3 minutes left.
Yes.
First one is attire. What happens with attire? Are they entitled to a uniform behind prison? Or is that only if, how does that work?
Okay, so I think very quickly, so we have less than 3 minutes.
Mhm.
There are 3 categories of prison outside of civil, remand, and penal.
Mhm.
We have the young prisoners. These are prisoners under 21. And then we have a star class, which is prisoners 21 and over, but who is in prison for the first time. And then we have an ordinary class, which is prisoner who are visiting prisons multiple times. Sometimes we joke and say they want to do a life sentence, peace, the way they would come, go and come ever so often. Now, that class that repeat,
repeat offenders,
those
yeah.
are in orange. We put those in orange to identify that these are the repeat offenders. Those who 21 and over and come for the first time, you may have seen them in white. And the 21 and under, those are the young prisoners. We have them in green for identification. So it's orange, white, green. You see someone in orange, that's a multiple offender. White, it's a first-time offender, 21 and over. And green is a young offender under 21.
Literally green.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I've seen the white few and far between.
That may not that
well,
may not
from
be
right, it may not be a reflection on the inside, but
Yeah.
from first on the outside when you see them pass, you white
it,
few and
may,
far
it may be something else as well. It may be that you probably run out of white.
You got bleach. You could try that. But how I see being able to come or move beyond the walls as a privilege. Now, you said rights are restricted once you become a prisoner, not necessarily.
Fundamental rights.
Fundamental rights are restricted. Can't vote, you can't leave whenever you want, the telephone calls, communication, restrictions. Now, how does a prisoner get the opportunity to leave the confinement? Of course, with police officers, but how do they get that opportunity?
Well, it would depends on a number of things. Top of the list would be your conduct, your whole attitude. You would not see a high risk prisoner outside like that. So once the prison management consider you to be high risk, you would more than likely be inside. So I know people would say from time to time that they would see prison transport full of prisoners, one officer. It may not be the ideal situation, but we have good prisoners. We have good prisoners, and we are truly grateful for that. It may not be best practice, but to encourage people, remember our aim in the end is to rehabilitate. So if we can get people to be trustworthy, quote unquote, then we would have achieved a little. And you would see that there isn't much incident of misbehaving outside by these prisoners.
They shout you though. Gay. I've heard my name called a couple of times.
Legally, they should not be doing that.
But turn around and see the person. What? You know me. But it's all good. It's all right. It's all right. Now we're out of time. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. And it's always a pleasure talking to the police every Thursday morning from 8 to 9. We have a lot of work to do. Of course, to keep them out, first and foremost, and they should want to stay out. Secondly, I want to wish you guys all the very best, and of course, the entire team, because I know it's a team effort. All right.
Thank you very much, Christal.
Not a problem.
Very much for having us.
All right. And there you have it for this morning, Cop Chat. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your call. And of course, thank you for listening. Going to end the broadcast. That's